Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday, the 2nd of May. I am Boostin Amafai. This is how we get in today's business and market started, not just here, but around the world after May 1st, Labor Day. Of course, here in Nigeria, the key issue was about the minimum wage. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. But first, Nigeria's budget 2019, passage by the executive branch, may take a backseat as President Buhari prepares for May 29 inauguration and the unveiling of his new cabinet, which we believe is currently under some form of selection. The executive branch may also prefer the final negotiations and talks about the 2019 appropriations with the incoming legislature and not the outgoing National Assembly. A final action on the budget 2019 is likely until June. President Buhari's second term kicks off later this month, the 29th. Meantime, the administration is walking a very tightrope right now as labor union says they want the new higher minimum wage of 30,000 naira signed by the president to be backdated to the month of April for implementation. So, how does that happen and how will that take place is something that we'll all looking forward to see how that happens. The hint to the legislature made by the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning about a month ago about the higher budget size will also be a part of what the executive branch will continue. Meantime, in the oil market, 20 of Nigeria's oil cargoes are sitting on high seas without buyers, even as prices are trimmed. The Brent crude about $58 about early today. And no thanks to the oversupply from the U.S. and the geopolitics in Iran, Venezuela, as well as Libya. We're expecting to start from today more first quarter 2019 earnings and unfinished full year 2018 corporate numbers started to impact trading in a month where investors and traders will be focusing more on fiscal direction with President Buhari's second term kickoff and a new cabinet as well as a new legislature. And we're starting the new month on the economic front. There will be no key data for the rest of the week, but expect a number of releases from the Statistics Office beginning Monday, the 13th of May, the capital importation report, the transport data, oil and gas prices, and of course the heaviest day will be the 20th of May when we have the May 2019 April CPI and inflation report and the first quarter 2019 GDP data. That's be the heaviest in the box on our economic data calendar. Okay, let's give a few minutes to Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent live at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, to take us through. We're starting the month of May. The listed securities, the quoted market as the NSE and the unlisted finished off in the negative territory, wrapping up a very brutal month in which we saw about 600 billion naira wiped off the equities value at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Temple, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Bosun. Well, we actually lost between 600 billion naira and, of course, 700 and plus, actually, in the month of April. Of course, that's due to some kind of risk of sentiment that we have been seeing in the markets in recent time. That has led to where we are. We started the month the high of some 30,527.50 and ended downwards at some 29,159.74. At a point between these numbers, we saw investors reacting fairly positively to the good earnings that came in. But of course, due to the fact that a whole lot of those earnings came with some kind of mixed posture to the investors, we saw a whole lot of sell-off on major counters that are really affected in terms of that kind of mixed sentiment or mixed releases that we have in the market. But basically, on Friday specifically, we lost 135, sorry, on Tuesday, I beg your pardon, we lost 135 billion naira. And of course, we saw the equity capitalization of the market reducing back to 10 trillion naira mark. And of course, month-to-date and year-to-date performance of the market also shrunk further. We saw a month-to-date of 6.06% as of Tuesday, and of course a year-to-date of some 7.22% as at the same day. But if you look at activity level on Tuesday, it was really heavy. We got an 87.44% rise in the volume of transactions that we saw in the market, 543.92 million units of shares traded in total for a value of just 8.19 billion naira. That's some kind of more than double the 30-day average of the value of the entire transactions that we usually see here in the market. And of course, there was 4,682 thousand deals basically at the end of the day. If you look at the sectoral performance of the market, we've got the industrial goods sector of the market performing the worst. It was the worst performing sector on Tuesday, down 3.19% on account of losses on Kiotics, CCNN, and of course Dangote Cement. For the banking side of things, it was negative by 1.15%. We saw the likes of Zenith Bank, FBN Holding, FCMB, as well as other major names that you have in that sector of the market really dragging that sector. Consumer goods sector, in spite of the gains we've seen around Dangote Flour in recent times, that wasn't able to offset the losses that we saw across the counters of Okomu Oil, Nascon, Nestle, Dangote Sugar. We saw that sector actually dipping by 67 basis points on Tuesday. The insurance segment of the market was up by some 0.11%, and of course the oil and gas segment of the market also rose further. In the energy sector, we saw the corn oil remain flat. Forte oil changed for goods, up some 9.97%. 11 PLC also rose by 1.14%. If you look at MRS, MRS had no change. It was unchanged actually. Oando depreciated by 1%. Seplat, due to some news around that particular company, was up some 1.23%. We saw Total also unchanged. Eternal PLC rose by some 2.33%, and of course Japol PLC, which was on bid before the market went on a break, was up 10%, having seen some 37 million units of shares traded across that counter. For the NASD OTC, you got a market that was actually negative on Tuesday, down by 140 basis points on this particular day, where of course it was time for some investors to find a way to take profit after we saw some less active companies there beginning to rake in some good gains, and of course getting some demands from investors, the likes of Food Concept, the likes of Trust Bond Mortgage Bank, two key companies in recent times that have been enjoying some positive sentiments on that platform. And so volume of transaction on Tuesday was 500,104 units of shares traded at a value of 9.8 million naira, and of course we saw just 10 deals on that platform. For the debt market, in terms of the fixed income side of things, bond segment of the market got a mixed trading session on Tuesday, although with a bit of a bullish tilt actually, because there was contraction of just a single basis points there to some 14.24%, and of course there was sell pressure on the April 2031 security, which expanded by some 6 basis points. Eventually we got the demand for February 2028, which is a benchmark bond, actually trading at 97 naira 50 kobo on Tuesday, and of course we saw some 19.5 billion naira worth of transactions on that counter. Eventually that particular security saw a contraction of some 5 basis points. And if you take a look at what we have in the treasury bill side of the market, we saw a bit of a mixed trading session as well on Tuesday there. It had a bit of a bullish tilt as well, and of course contraction of 1 basis point to 13.08% on the average for securities on the side of the market. There was a significant demand on the 35-day to maturity security, where a bit of contraction also set in at the short end of the curve there. But in total, we had a total of 313 deals on Tuesday, and all for a value of some 144.96 billion naira worth of transactions on Tuesday, both.
So I'm getting ready for the first trading day in the new month of May, and I'm sure Temple Shaju on the trading floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, our business correspondent, is ready looking at through the ticker tape for today to start on the equity side. Custom Street, Temple, get in here into this conversation and give us what to call the early numbers. What is it looking like for the first trading day, or investors or traders still head scratching where they lost so much money last month?
Well, they lost so much money last month, but money never sleeps. So whatever change you have left, you still bring it back into the markets to see where you can get some good gains and continue to see how you can rake in some more profits. So right now we're seeing the key benchmark indices of the market are looking fairly green, up some 0.02%, 0.03%. I do hope it will get to 0.04 and even jump, you know, beyond that level actually. So some 66 million units of shares traded so far at a value of more than half a billion naira so far in the market. I think the news of Transcorp, you know, being able to win the contract for Afam Power is really driving up the performance of that company at about this time in the market. This morning it actually opened at 1 naira 11 kobo, and it's gained about 10% as we speak. It's now trading at 1 naira 22 kobo. Before you know it, that may take it into the bids cut for the rest of the day. And of course, Dangote Flour is still enjoying the demand of investors in the market. It's up at about this time to 19 naira 45 kobo, trading some gains of some 3.67% or thereabout. Then you have the likes of Japol, which has also gained some 10%. You have the likes of Champs PLC, up some 10% at this point in the market. Caverton is also surprisingly up in the top-rated side of the market at this point in time. But if you look at the downside of things or the other sides where you have the laggards, the likes of Forte Oil has seen a little lower than 1% decline in its share price. WAPCO and of course CCNN, some of the few companies that you have on that count are currently, you know, losing a little. I think it's only Linkage Assurance that is getting close to the 9% decline that we've seen in the market, which is about the same margin that a lot of the other companies that we've seen earlier in the gainer side of the market have actually recorded. So I don't know, but it looks like it's going to be a brighter day. It looks like the prices are really lower. What happened on Tuesday seemed to have given room for some more investors to come into the market and take position. You know, I think what is on the mind of investors right now will be the Q2 intentions of the market. How is it going to pan out for the company? So if you do the valuation for companies that have lost way so much more in the month of April, you want to see how you can come into those companies at this point in time, especially if they are companies with some good fundamentals. So if they had also lost so much in the Q1 2019 numbers that were released, you know, in the month of April, you want to see how Q2, you know, will bring them some better performance and take position. So I think that's basically what some investors are currently, you know, calculating, thinking and permutating around. The market opens today, the second day of May, and of course Thursday in the month of May, Bosun.
Yes, Tempo, but again, do you think, if we look at how we're getting today started, do you think the rally that followed Access Bank merger or business combination with Diamond Bank is now over and out? Is everyone okay, as it were, moving forward? We've seen the numbers from Access Bank on one hand. That's one big news in the month of March through into April. Then we saw Zenith Bank with some good numbers, and of course, Easter, $500 million Eurobond repayment. Do you think any of this backlog of news will still flow into May, or you think investors and traders think, look, I think we've done enough for you guys. Thank you. Nice handshake. Can we have other guys line up with their Q1 numbers and perhaps some finished businesses or earnings from full year 2018?
So these are two key companies with fundamentals that you mentioned. Access Bank, very strong, now one of the biggest banks in Nigeria. In terms of depositors, in fact, it is about the largest as we speak. Some 35 billion ordinary shares, fully paid up shares here in the markets here. I think the fact that it once traded at 13 naira plus in this market, you know, underscores the reason why some investors will want to continue to bet on Access Bank. It is now trading between 6 naira and 7 naira. And so the fact that it has that kind of upside at a point in time, some analysts are always bullish on Access Bank. The fact that they were able to successfully carry out the merger with Diamond Bank, which of course was made public on the first day of April, and the fact that they even declared a dividend of 25 kobo. Within this same period, they were also able to carry out some 15 billion naira worth of green bonds transaction in this market, get it listed on FMGQ, OTC, and of course on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. All of these are huge fundamentals. It is also the very first company in the whole of Africa to carry out a corporate CBI certified green bond in the whole of the continent. So these are key reasons for investors to continue to put their money on Access Bank. As for Zenith Bank is another company that has also been doing well. The Q1 numbers were very, very positive. Investors are bullish on it, except for the fact that there was a little bit of deduction from its top line, as analysts have also reported. We understand that the $500 million Eurobond that was also settled and is not even being refinanced is something that is really, really very positive. I think what investors will just be waiting to hear from Access Bank will be to see how, what other initiatives do they have, what other exciting news will they be willing to push out there for them to put their money on this particular company. However, the fact that it's a company with some huge fundamentals, was able to trade around 20 naira at a point in time. I know that a lot of retail investors, domestic investors, and even some PFA players in the market have also quickly put their money on it because they know that this is one company that has a lot of upside, and is one particular bank that will certainly come up with a news at a point in time, and before you know it, the share price will start shooting up. So now that the price is lower at a support level of 20 naira, 21 naira, it's a good entry point for a lot of investors, and so you can make, you can take your profits when the price is right for you as an investor. I think that's basically what the expectations on these two key banks that you mentioned is, Bosun.
Yes, Tempo, as we just we're just having this conversation. May and Baker PLC in the healthcare sector just coming through with its first quarter 2018 or 2019 numbers, and it's looking down from where it was first quarter of last year. This healthcare company, of course, you know, Temple signed on with the World Health Organization or whatever, some deals, producing some drugs, whatever it is. Earnings per share, 16 naira, 54 kobo. First quarter last year, down to 7 naira, 74 kobo. Earnings per share in the first quarter of this year. Is net profit also down quarter-on-quarter basis. Tempo, this is one not good earnings coming through, and folks are beginning to ask questions. What's the problem with the first quarter of 2019? Think about it, Tempo. Let's leave it there for today. Thank you very much. Let's put all of this together in our notes for tomorrow when we come back for the first Good Friday in the month of May. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Temple, thank you so much from the Stock Exchange. I'll see you again in the next 24 hours. Goodbye from Lagos.